Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5th anniversary of the All Queued Up podcast, your review show tied to streaming services like Amazon Prime, Netflix, HBO Max, etc., etc., etc. I'm your host, Greg Dietz, and with me always, as my co-host through thick and thin, Maya Don Fisher. How have you been?
Well, I am fantastic, and I look fantastic. I'm actually on camera, so go to YouTube for you audio listeners, and you can see how fantastic I look today. I'm feeling fabulous.
Exactly.
Um,
So normally I'd sit there and say, "How's your week been?" But we have a hell of a show to get through. So
I've had
instead
an
of
awesome
talking about,
week.
yeah, I had an okay week. I mean, nothing to write home about. What we're going to do today, everybody, is we're going to do a little reminiscing on the past 5 years of the show, past year of the show, where our lives went from a year ago to today, and then we're going to do a little bit of a top 5 of our favorite shows in the past year. And after we're done with that, we're going to do our regular reviews of Rings of Power episode 6, House of the Dragon episode 7, She-Hulk episode 8, and Andor episode 5. So that's that. So yeah, fucking 5 years.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. It really doesn't.
No. What was, it was what? A little because it was about 5 years and 2 months ago. I was still doing the podcast with Anthony, and I had gotten back from my second trip to North Carolina. And I remember telling Michelle that I wanted to start a podcast where I review shows that are exclusively on Netflix. And I couldn't figure out who I could do it with. Because I knew that Anthony didn't care enough, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was because I was pretty actively streaming Jackbox on Half Empty. And
Every Saturday night.
You were always in the Discord chat, and whenever you were there on stream, we would just talk about the shows that we were watching. And I was like, I have great rapport with her. I'm going to ask her if she wants to be my co-host. And
yeah.
you were just like, oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised, because I've heard people have told me, you have a talent for telling stories. You're amusing. You can keep people entertained. You can keep people captivated. You should do a podcast. I'm like, people don't want to hear what I have to say. Apparently, I was wrong. There are people out there that tune in to hear what we have to say. And, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
One of the things that I've always kind of prided myself on when it comes to my reviews is I like to keep the concept that I and whoever I'm with are not professionals in the field that we're talking about. So if I did a review, I wanted people to know, I never went to college to write reviews or to talk about reviews or anything in that, even in that remote vein. I don't work in the game industry. I don't work in the television or movie industry. These are observations and opinions based entirely on me enjoying things.
Yeah.
Just like growing up watching movies and stuff. And that was another reason why I really wanted you as my co-host, was because you were kind of in that same ballpark. We've talked about this on the podcast. I can't stand bad reviews. And people go, what's a bad review? Like, what counts as a bad review? And I go, when your review is tied to, if you're reviewing a movie, you want to review the acting, right? You want to review how the story is being told, things like that. And what always drives me batshit fucking crazy is when people judge something because of nostalgia or prior information that drives me nuts. I mean, what irritates me even more is when people like have the most baseless fucking opinions on something because of a weird arbitrary thing. Like, take She-Hulk, for example. We'll talk about that in a little while here, but if you say, I don't think the humor is landing for me, that's a valid opinion. If you say, I'm not the world's biggest fan of like comedy-based superhero things, that's a valid opinion. I think that the CGI is kind of not all the way there and it just is distracting, valid fucking opinion. I don't like female superheroes, not a valid opinion. That's a weird fucking arbitrary thing. You never did that. Not one time in our conversations prior to us doing a podcast together. You have never really let your nostalgia or... I mean, you've never really had any preconceived, like, asinine thoughts, so there's that. But,
now my worst habit is, if I would usually casually say if I didn't like something, it's like, oh, I hated that. But I don't literally mean hate. It's just easier because, it was just a bad habit I was in. And I like to think that doing this has helped curb me from doing that so often. I still do it on occasion, and I don't mean to, and I try to stay self-conscious about that. But I think that's helped, and it's like you said, we're just two normal people who wanted to talk about and review things and have had a wonderful time doing so.
Yeah. It's I do love listening to podcasts where you got the people that work in the industry and you get their opinion on things, but there are a lot of podcasts that do kind of what we do.
Yeah.
And I find those to be just as entertaining, and I'm glad that we found an audience that does as well. It's interesting because, but also, like, you think back to 5 years where our lives were to where they are now. It's insane.
Very different. I mean,
when we started this podcast, I was working for the school district. I don't even think I was. No, I wasn't working. No, I was working when we started. Yeah, I was working.
You were.
But I don't think I was. I was definitely not doing DoorDash.
No. You were working at the school still. Then you went to AM/PM.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you and I. You had a whole other leg when we started.
I know. Now I've got. Well, I'm just going to back up and. Why not? Since I'm on camera.
There it is.
It's a prosthetic.
It's just a rod coming out of your leg. Yeah, that was a whole trip. Like I've talked to a few people about that, like, because you were, I think back then, like, it wasn't super often, but it was often enough to be noticeable that you were canceling us recording because you were always feverish and just feeling like absolute shit. And we had no idea what was going on. And then I remember it was like weeks, right? I hadn't heard from you. The last I had heard from you is that you were calling an ambulance to go to the hospital because, like, your fever was like over 100 for like a while, and you were just like, I can't. I feel like I'm gonna die. And I was like, okay, yeah, get to the hospital. Let me know what's up later. And I didn't hear from you for like 2.5 weeks, I want to say.
No, it wasn't that long. I went into the hospital on a Thursday, and it was late Sunday night.
It felt like a fucking week or a couple weeks. Like, I was legit stressed out about you for a hot minute there.
Well, we didn't tell anybody. We kept it under wraps. You were one of the first people we told because we weren't sure if I was going to live. I mean, They really I was on death's door. Like, I was looking under the mat for the fucking key to open it up. That's how close I was.
and yeah, it was all about your timing. Like, you waited an extra day, you probably would have been gone.
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah.
And they told me that if I had waited any longer.
So, well, I'm happy that you're still here and we're still doing this show, because that's a hell of a life adjustment. And then Maya, you went, well, I lost a foot and I almost died. So I'm going to do what I think is going to be best for my happiness.
Exactly. And that's where you get Maya.
Yep. So, yeah, you've had the most changes since we started doing this podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
You were still living next to the meth heads, and then had to get the fuck out of there because didn't their house burn down or some shit?
Yeah, they burned their house down. There was one place in between their place and ours, and the landlords, they owned their own place, but they were the guy mowed for the landlord, and then he felt sorry for them and let them move into the empty place. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, then they were that much closer to us. And no shit, it was a fucking Wednesday night. We were recording, and this was like 10:30 at night Eastern time. They knock on the fucking door and they're like, you got a keyboard and a mouse we can borrow? I was like, what? Well, somebody gave us a computer and we need a keyboard and a mouse to make it work.
Go to Walmart.
Yeah, I was like, no, man, no, we don't. I can't get to Walmart until tomorrow. Okay, go without.
That sounds like a you
Fuck
problem,
off.
homie.
That is, Jesus.
But yeah, that was a whole fucking whole thing, and then you guys moved, and you seem happier in that place, in the new place.
Oh yeah,
I haven't heard
The
you complain too much.
only thing I miss about the old place was because we're in an apartment now. I don't hear the rain fall on the roof, and I love falling asleep to the sound of the rain.
Yeah.
New apartment, can't hear the rain. Not heard it rain in well, I've heard it a few times, but not much in the 2.5 years that we've been here. Really well insulated. Really well insulated. But yeah, just moving here and going through what I went through, and then the death of a sudden, unexpected death of a good friend. I said, you know what? I'm tired of hiding it. I'm tired of pretending to be somebody that I'm not. And we sat down with Madison and had a long conversation. And, she was cool with everything. And before you know it, taking hormones, getting, and then after taking hormones for almost a year, I started getting laser hair removal. Still undergoing laser hair removal treatments and everything, but I've been on hormones for 2 years now. I've been doing laser hair removal for a year this past month. I've been seeing the same therapist for a couple of years now. Came out publicly in September of 2020, and it's just I don't hide anything. I just live to my utmost happiest that I possibly can, because we never know when we're going to punch out. We're not guaranteed a tomorrow. And I'm like, I want to be able to hold my head up high and say, fuck it, I live my life the way I saw fit, the way I felt I needed to, and I'm happy about it. And I've never been happier.
Yeah, it's funny too, because right now, like, I'm essentially living for my parents. I said this before on the podcast. I take care of them, make sure that they're doing okay, and there's a lot of frustrations that come from that, as you've heard me say thousands of times, Maya. And I hope one day to hit that level of happiness. I really do, because the thing that keeps me going right now is like this podcast and distractions. And I don't mean keep me going. I mean keep me like in a decent mood, you know?
Yeah.
Because the stresses and frustrations that have been happening for the past, God, year and a half, 2 years, have been rough. And I appreciate that this podcast is still going forward. I appreciate that you want to still be here and do this with me, because I can't promise that my mental health would be good if it weren't for doing this show. And I'm dead serious about that. There's a lot that happens every day around here that's upsetting enough to where if I weren't having this outlet, I don't know where my life would be right now. So that's heavy and deep, but it's accurate, you know. It's, you know, it's like you know, 6 weeks ago I started this new job, and I just don't like it. Like, not to mention, like, before that it was, you know, my dad went into dialysis last year on my birthday. My uncle went and took his own life, and before doing so, took the life of his wife, my aunt. That was a rough situation. And then there was the whole thing with my other aunt, like, passing away like 6 months later. My mom going into this whole like I can't leave the house sort of thing. Like, she talked to her doctor yesterday, and her doctor said that she needs to go in for a mammogram and some tests. And like, just mentioning it to me was freaking her out. We don't have a car. I don't know how the fuck we're doing this.
Yeah.
So that's a new stress I have to deal with. So waking up on Thursday mornings and being like, man, I get to fucking hop on the podcast and talk to Maya about these shows that we're enjoying. This is going to be great. Like, I look forward to this shit.
Oh, yeah.
So
between that,
for still being here,
and, you know, our game nights, and, you know, D&D and video games, I mean, you know, I know it goes a long way. It goes a long way to helping me too. You know, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy that we've been doing this for as long as we've been doing this, and hopefully we can do it just as long in the future, if not longer. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? We don't. But
yeah, I have no intention of stopping the podcast.
Oh no.
And we make concessions for each other when it comes to scheduling and shit like that, because we both have things going on. So
Exactly. Sometimes Thursdays are the only days that I can get my laser hair removal done, because, you know, I get it done down there too.
right.
And, you know, in preparation for reassignment surgery, I'm going to get a vagina. What?
It's like when you turn a sock inside out.
Yeah, kind of. But they got to do laser hair removal for down there. So there's only one tech that does it at the place that I go to. And she only works Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So those are the only days that I have available to do that. Misty works Mondays and Tuesdays. So usually I have to go on Thursdays.
Well, the positive thing about that is after next week's She-Hulk, we can move the recording back to Wednesdays.
That's true. That is true.
Because that's the only reason we're recording Thursday mornings is because of fucking She-Hulk. But
yeah. Yeah.
Well, if we're done reminiscing, we can go into our top 5.
Yeah,
yeah. I was like, I don't know what else we can say because like that's the thing for me. I remember talking to Michelle about wanting to do this podcast, and she says, "Do it. You never know what's going to happen. Like, nobody should ever tell you to not do something that you want to try." Love Anthony. He's not the best at podcasting. I love Anthony. He's still a good friend. Like, I communicate with him from time to time, but he's not the best at podcasting. We would see that from time to time whenever we would do something. I remember when we would do we would always talk about some big movie, right? And we were talking about Last Jedi. And I remember because we would do it on Twitch at the same time that we would do the podcast recordings. And you were in chat, and you and I had to I had to bring you onto the fucking podcast because you and I had to basically tell him no, the movie tells you this, this, and this. Because you chose to not pay attention, that's nobody's fault but yours. And he's like, well, when did the movie say this? I was like, in this scene. It tells you right here. And he was like, oh, well, how did I miss that? Fuck if I know.
Yeah, I remember that. And it was like the post show of the Mission Start podcast. And you were like, we're getting Maya in here. He's like, okay.
I was like, we need to. That's been for God. When did that movie come out? 4 years ago? No, it was before we started recording this, right?
Let me look it up. The Last Jedi release date. I know it was December.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when.
Last Jedi came out in 2017. So we had only been doing the show for 2 months.
Yeah. So yeah, we had just started it. Yeah,
because we started the first week of October of 2017, and we were bi-weekly then. So we only published once every other Friday at that point. So we had only had 2 in October, 2 in November, 1, maybe 2, 3. Yeah, because we did our 7th episode was Christmas week. Because that's when I took over the editing and everything because he couldn't do it that way.
Oh, yes. That's right. Which was a blessing in disguise, really.
Oh, yes. Big time.
But yeah, I just remember us hopping on there and when both of us were just like, Anthony, what the fuck are you talking? Because I remember he didn't like that movie for the same reasons that the internet claimed they didn't like it. And it was always the same shit. The thing that always drove me nuts the most about people talking about that fucking movie was it's just convenient that they find another master code breaker. And I'm like, he wasn't a master fucking code breaker. He was a con man, and he saw 2 marks. Why'd they have to make 2 of the characters idiots? Oh my God. It's called character development. You heard of it? And we're not here to talk about fucking Last Jedi and the dumb fans, but God, it still drives me nuts. Anyway, I just remember that because I remember thinking during that recording of that particular episode, I'm never gonna have an issue talking to Maya about any of these shows. There have been shows we disagree on. I mean, probably the biggest that stands out to me is Cobra Kai. Both of us just did not sorry. Yeah, both of us saw exactly the opposite from one another. And oh, hey, sorry. But still, even in that regard, we would understand each other's opinions and takes. We would respect each other. There was a cowboy show or a western
Godless.
show. Yeah,
Godless. The one with Jeff Daniels.
yeah. Because I didn't enjoy it as much as you did,
Oh, I loved it.
and I didn't hate it, but it was like I remember thinking during that recording, like, I know that if her and I ever disagree on any show ever, it's not going to be a problem, and it hasn't been. Like, I think a friend of ours said that what did she say or he say, White Becky. Basically, that we respect each other's opinions enough to where we don't get upset with each other ever. I think is what they were trying to say, but Anyway,
I'm just trying to place the reference.
I don't remember what he said. I know what he meant. What he meant was that we try not to piss each other off. We try not to sit there and be like, your opinion's dumb. So instead of saying like, well, I just don't see what you see and getting upset, we're just like, well, I understand that. I just, don't, I didn't enjoy it as much as you. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, why would you, like, I get that the internet loves anger, but we're not going to do that because we're mature.
There's too much negativity out there as it is. And I only contribute to negativity on Twitter.
There's some negativity that I think is fine, but it's like, when I was doing my reviews for Mission Start's website, I think I told you this, that like I wanted to make sure that my reviews were more positive than negative. Like, you can't do a review without talking about anything that's like, you can't just be like all positive. You have to talk about the downsides of something in a review. You have to. And I would either call them nitpicks, which I still do when we record, or I would call them like the few downsides. So when I'm writing a review, I would do at least 2 paragraphs of positive and 1 paragraph of negative. For this show, it's not necessarily the same thing, but like, if you enjoy a show more than I do, I try to let you talk more.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Yeah.
We have definitely developed a very good cadence, and we know when to flow. We know when one person is cutting off. It's just like natural to us at this point.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of, why don't we go ahead and do our top 5s?
All right. Why don't you go with your 5th choice?
So both Maya and I went through everything we had watched in the past year. And I remember Maya made her list before I did. And you were sitting there saying how difficult it was for you. And I was like, there's no way we watched that many good things this past year that it's going to be hard. Good Lord. I struggled. Like, I had at least 15 that I was like, any of these could be in my top 5. But I had to narrow it down. I had to narrow it down to what the thing meant to me, and if I would watch it again, because I don't have time to watch things again. So if I'm willing to put in the time to watch something again, you know how good it is.
I'll go ahead and preface this by saying all of these in my top 5, I've watched at least 3 times all the way through.
There you go. I don't think I've watched. I've watched 2 of these twice, and that's it. But I'd watch any of them again. And if one of ours is on the other's list, don't say anything. Just wait until like it's you in your list, and then you can talk about why you put it there. That make sense?
Sure.
So like, if my number 5 is your number 3, just don't say anything. Wait till 3. Okay, so my number 5 is The Sandman on Netflix. I loved this show from to hell and back. Like, it was, pun intended, Um, it was so fucking clever in how it told the story, to the point that when Neil Gaiman sits there and tells the story of a singular character doing a singular thing, but you have this world that's existed for a long time around them, and you have these characters that just interact in this shared world, and you don't have dialogue that explains shit. You just have to kind of watch and get there, right? Love that stuff. Plus, the thing that the show did that was so clever was that it was philosophical without hammering you over the head with it. Like the scene between Dream and Lucifer, when they're doing their little combat. That was very philosophical, but it didn't feel philosophical because it was this cool sequence. So that's what I love about Sandman. That's what, like, I want to read the comic really badly because of this show. And after watching the show and knowing that Neil Gaiman was like there during the writing of the script, during the filming of the show, like he was a huge contributor to the style of the show. Like I had high hopes, and they were placed firmly in that category. It was just an amazing fucking show that I would happily watch again. What's your number 5?
Sandman.
I did not think it would land at 5 as well. That's funny.
It just barely got bumped to 5. It was almost going to be 4, but one of them I like a little bit better. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed the Sandman, and I can't wait for them to finally announce a season 2 any fucking day now. Come on, Netflix. It's been 2 fucking months.
Yeah.
This show was geniusly done. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's, you run through the whole gamut of emotions. It's just,
that episode. I think it's number 5. It's the whole scene in the diner.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was 4.
I don't remember.
I think it was 4 because I think 5 was the climax between him and the David Thewlis's character. Because this 10 episodes in the season, it was like a 5 episode story arc, and then went into the next 5 episode story arc.
The way that I remember it is that he gets the amulet or whatever the fuck it was that could give him that power.
Mm-hmm.
He gets that at the end of one episode, and then the next episode, the entire episode is the diner, and the very end of it, after he's like forced everybody to kill themselves or kill each other, that's when Dream shows up and takes it from him and gets all that power and holds him in his hand.
I can't remember. I need to rewatch it again, because even though I have watched it a second time, it's like I think there was more that went on in between there, and we've watched a lot of shit since.
Oh yeah. I just remember the sequence going in that order, and I remember the diner and the finale of that guy being one episode. But again, I could be wrong. I'm not taking that away. That's just how I remember it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it plays out. The whole show is outstanding.
Yeah, and Netflix, get on the ball. Greenlight season 2. We wants it. People wants it. Look at Twitter. Every day you're seeing somebody renew Sandman season 2, renew Sandman for season 2, bring back Sandman. You see it every fucking day on Twitter.
Right. Not that matters too much, because Twitter's a very small number of people, but they, like, even in that regard, the numbers that Sandman got are high.
Yeah, very high. They even put them out and said it was one of the most watched things on Netflix. I mean, I think it was the show that dethroned Stranger Things is the most watched thing on Netflix.
Yeah. Which is saying something, considering.
Yeah.
But all right, well, what's your number 4?
This one, it came out a year ago last week. but we didn't review it until a year ago this week. So I felt because of that gray area, I was going to put this on my list. Midnight Mass.
Okay.
I fucking adored that show.
That's the one you were talking about that you put on there because
Yeah. It released on September 24th of 2021, but our review of it didn't publish until October 4th of 2021. And since we're recording October 6th of 2022, I was like, yeah, it's good enough, close enough.
hey, fudge it. I didn't even have that on when I was making my list. I never even put it on there. So
Adore that show so much. It's the philosophical and religious overtones to this show where, really well done. But I'm telling you, this is the coolest way I've ever seen a vampire done in a long, long time.
Oh yeah, like I get bored with classic monsters in classic ways. Like we've seen it done so many times that when Mike Flanagan was like, "Oh, here you go, here's a different way," I was like, "Yes." So I understand why it made your top 5. I didn't think that it was within the year, so I didn't even write it down.
Well, what'd you have as your number 4?
The film starring Jonathan Majors, The Harder They Fall. I fucking love that movie so much. I've watched it, I think, twice now. Once by myself for the podcast, and then once with my parents. But it's the one with Idris Elba.
Did we watch that for this?
Oh yeah.
Was that the Western?
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was right at a year ago too that we watched it.
About yeah. Like that movie is so much fucking fun. It's just, and it's an over the top kind of Western too. Like it's I don't remember how I was gonna say that, but it's when I say over the top, what I mean is that when somebody gets shot in the chest, they fly back hella far. Like that wouldn't be a real thing in real life, but
it's like some real From Dusk Till Dawn type shit.
Yeah, and that's what to me that's what makes it so much just so entertaining, so much fun. Sure, the story is like I could understand somebody saying the story is not unimpressive, but it's not like super original. It's two gangs coming at each other because of a mutual interest, but it's got Idris Elba, it's got fucking Jonathan Majors, it's got Zazie Beetz, it's got I can't think of the guy's name, the one of the sharpshooters. The fuck's his name? I have his face in my head. Oh my god. The cast is insane. The cast is fucking insane. But it's also like I said, it's just a fun time. Like I don't know how you couldn't enjoy this movie. Like honestly. Because it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's meant to just be, a fun action film. Plus, I mean, I guess I'm woke, but I love that it's an entirely black cast.
Yeah.
That makes it so much, better in my opinion. But yeah, that's why it was my number 4.
All right.
Well, my number 3 is a film that we watched actually relatively recently, but I'd love to watch it again if somebody ever wanted to watch it with me. Like if they were like, "Hey, I haven't seen this movie yet. Let's put it on." And that movie is Prey. The news.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That almost made my top 5.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't had a chance to watch that movie yet, please do. It's free. Like you don't have to have a Hulu subscription. Sure, you have to have an account, but you don't have to have a subscription to watch it. And it's still available right now to watch for free. You just have to watch I think
3 minutes. 3 minutes of commercials before it starts.
3 minutes, okay, yeah. So,
and
I'd love to watch.
Go pop some popcorn, go to the bathroom, grab a drink, come back, get your popcorn, sit down, and boom, You're through the fucking previews.
And I would love to watch that movie in the theater too. Like that would be an amazing experience. I know I can't, but or did it come out in theaters too? I think it did.
No, I think it was streaming exclusively.
Okay. Oh, it'd be fun in the theater, but it's a fucking great movie regardless. Like probably the best Predator movie since the first one. Genuinely.
Oh, absolutely.
So
better than the first one in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Stylistically, I'm not saying that the script is any better or not, because they're essentially, they mirror each other very well in the beats of what happens when. And this one pays homage to the original. There's callbacks to both the first and the second one.
Yeah.
But there are things that this one does stylistically that the first one just can't touch.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that has to do with
With the advance of technology and.
But also, like, you want to highlight, Comanche hunting skills. You want to highlight how Native Americans, specifically the Comanche, lived in the 1700s? No.
Yeah, I think it was 1792 or somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was something like that. But I remember also I play a lot of Fall Guys, as I'm sure a lot of you know. And one of the guys we play with, he goes, what would have been really cool is if that, like, I really like the movie, but it would have been really cool if, like, you could watch the whole thing and everyone was speaking Comanche. I was like, well, about that.
There's the Comanche cut.
What's your number 3?
The Boys season 3.
That was in my top 10, yeah.
Did it? Oh, well, I'm not going to ask. Love The Boys season 3. Bloody, violent, bloody, gory.
Also satirical and hilarious.
Satirical and hilarious, and just enough use of the word cunt from Carl Urban to be satisfying. Oi, cunt. No, the overarching story of Homelander's, he's mad. He has descended into madness. And now you see him like he's going to do whatever it takes for him to maintain his power that he has amassed. And oh my goodness, just the story of this season was incredible. Loved it so much.
Yeah, I still follow the VOT Twitter account because they will still like make satirical shit on like out of season. Their currently pinned tweet is the one that makes fun of HBO Max and Discovery's bullshit.
Oh,
yeah, it says it's something along the lines of like VOT TV. Hold on, let me find it. It's really fucking funny. This will take me 2 seconds because, like I said, it's their pinned tweet. VOUGHT. I don't think I spelled that right. VOUGHT. Sorry, I came up with John Voight. I was like, that's not what I want at all. Yeah, it says VOT is bringing your streaming together in one place. Fairly easy to use. Fairly easy to use. VOT TV Plus, VTV Plus, VNN Plus, and VSN Plus are now all part of VOT Plus Plus. But the part that makes fun of HBO Max and the Discovery merger is the one at the bottom here. It says rewatch Dawn of the Seven with the guys and dive into Property Flippers with the gals. Which I told you about that, right?
Yes.
That whole thing? Yeah. So, but they even recently posted like a fake Japanese sushi commercial with the dive or the deep. I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they do that shit all the fucking time, and it's always fucking funny. Like making fun of this season started off with making fun of the Snyder Cut bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely did.
So I understand why it made your top 5. I totally get it.
Wonderful show.
Yeah. Where's my list? I just lost. There we go. What's your number 2?
This is where I struggled. Which one did I enjoy more? Because I love both. I had to go with Stranger Things season 4.
Interesting. Okay.
So you know what my number 1's going to be.
I think I do.
Yeah, Stranger Things season 4 is just, this show has continued to evolve and get better and better each season as it goes along. And I think this season they're at their, I don't see how they can surpass it. But I say that each time. Hopefully we don't have to wait 3 years for the next one.
No, I think the Duffer Brothers definitely said that season 5 is like being worked on right now.
Yeah, they're actually in the writing room and writing the season out.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to take that long. Season 4 took that long because of the pandemic, but
oh yeah,
primarily. Which it was funny. They talked about in some interview that they had to change the script to 4 because the kids had grown up a bit.
Yeah,
they had to adjust it because they were like, "Well, we can't do what we wanted to do." Which I'm curious what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I know I saw a tweet from their Twitter account for the writers. Originally in season 2, Will, when he was possessed, was going to be the one that killed Bob instead of the Demodogs.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense considering he was in the Upside Down.
But yeah, I loved everything about season 4. I thought it was just incredibly well done, wonderfully well acted. My only real critique of the show is it's kind of like the main characters have plot armor, and new characters that get introduced are doomed. I want to see one of the OGs go down. Don't know who, but it can't be Will because everybody be like, oh, they picked on Will the entire series. It's got to be somebody different.
I have a feeling the next season is going to be brutal.
I'm hoping so. I want a tragic, bittersweet ending to it all.
Yeah.
I want my heartstrings tugged, pulled, ripped out, stomped on, pissed on, and set on fire.
Good Lord.
That's what I want.
I'm not in disagreement of you on that. It's just it's a lot to say out loud.
It is. But I mean it. But yeah, that wasn't, I'm not saying it didn't make my number 1 because it wasn't my favorite. That's not to say that I don't love it. I love all these things on this list. And
yeah, everything on both our top 5s are A+, straight up.
Yes, straight up A+ throughout. It's just my actual favorite is a favorite because of something completely different. But Greg, what was your number 2?
My number 2 is it's my number 2 because, and I'll get to it in a minute, it sparked my interest to get back into role playing after such a garbage experience, and that's The Legend of Vox Machina. It was such a fun fucking animated show. It was hilarious that I got back into, or not got back into, I started listening to Critical Role, which is a D&D podcast or D&D show that they do every Thursday. They're actually doing the new episode tonight. And um, while I was door dashing, I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm just like, man, this is making me want to play. This is making me want to play. And because I got my friends listening to that, like they were starting to wanting to play, and I was like, so Maya, and Maya was just like, yes, fuck, I'll DM that shit. I don't care.
Yeah, especially after the last experience left such a sour taste in our mouths of how that went down. Unfortunately, I'm still sad about that.
It sucks. It does suck. I mean, I will say this much, that when we started playing D&D again here recently, I'm glad that my friends that we play with right now had kind of a garbage experience. And the only reason I'm glad is because I needed them to see what that was like. So, but like I've watched Legend of Vox Machina twice. I've listened to so many different D&D podcasts now because of it, and I'm like, I'm just having a blast with D&D right now. This last session we had on Tuesday was a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was really funny because Andy thought I was complaining that we had so many combat encounters, and I was like, no, I wasn't complaining. Like, that shit was fun. My concern was I had no spell slots left. I was like, oh god. Like hoping to get that long rest before the next combat encounter, but you were like, no, here we go. I was like, fuck. But yeah, what makes also the Legend of Vox Machina so much fun is that to know that it was based off of an entire campaign that people had already played. That the Critical Role people had played, and they just condensed it down into an animated series. And it was so fucking cool to see that. To know that like half of the shit that happened in that show was done based on dice rolls and luck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so fucking smart. Oh god, it was great. But yeah, so how do we want to do number ones?
I'll let you go ahead and say what yours is, and then I'll go with mine.
Okay. Mine was a film that was exclusive to Netflix that came out earlier this year. And there are parts of this movie that stick with me today. There are parts of this movie that I see still happening in real life.
Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up's my number one.
Oh, wow.
This movie was so important. It wasn't just entertaining; it was important. It was a necessary film to come out because there's a couple reasons behind it. So first off, it helps us as people who understand climate change and the dangerous like positioning that we are in as humans, that we're killing our planet. And the scientists come out all the time and say, hey, we're killing our planet, and nobody wants to fucking listen. And to see that be done in a way on film that helps vindicate us was so fucking nice and refreshing. And I've suggested this movie to everybody. Like, I'm like, it's not only smart, it's also really fucking funny. And that's why it kind of made my number one, because it's integral to our life today. It's important to our life today. You could sit there and argue, oh, so was Idiocracy. Not really. Most people didn't see Idiocracy until it was out of theaters. And
hell, I've still not seen Idiocracy.
Oh, really? I thought
no. Never seen it.
It's really funny. Honestly, I think you'd enjoy it. But the reason I bring that up is because, like, right the fuck after Don't Look Up had come out, there was a scientist on a morning show in the UK talking about how dangerous it is that we're doing nothing about climate change. And the host literally like asked them about what they're wearing. Like almost completely ignores it. And it was like it was exactly that scene from the movie. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, I just that movie is is fucking fantastic. I think we both gave it an A+. I'm not sure, but
I think so. I think so. I obviously went with series over movies because of just I think there's more entertainment value for my time in these, and I get more out of them. But I'm glad that you were able to actually have several movies on your list that you enjoyed that much.
I think the reason that there's movies on my list versus series is because there's
The
no way
time
that I could.
factor.
Yeah, time factor, 100%. I was like, I could watch these again. So, but I do love them. Like, and again, I want to make it clear to the audience: this list was not easy. Like everything that's been on Maya's list so far, I have also loved and was in my top 10 or my top 15, one of the two. Anyway, so what's your number one?
Season 2 of The Witcher.
I knew that was going to be on there. I fucking knew it. I was like, she put The Witcher on her list.
I fucking adore that show so fucking much. Season 3 wrapped up filming last week, and they said it'll be out hopefully this time next year or next summer. They actually said a couple in a Netflix thing, that Tadum whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They about a week and a half ago they said it'll be out in the summer of next year. So they're working on the post production of the show now. But season 1 was based off of the first book. Actually, one episode was based off of one short story in the first book called The Last Wish. But season 1 was setting everything up and getting Geralt and Cirilla and Yennefer together. Season 2 was like, now that they're together, what happens? And oh my God, the emotional roller coaster that this season took us on. I just loved it from start to finish. And you see these moments of growth. You see these moments of character development. You see these horrible things happen. And yes, they deviate tremendously from the book with the death of a major Witcher character in the second fucking episode, which was mind blowing to me. But the season didn't suffer for it. If anything, it just added weight to the things that Geralt has to go through, and it just makes things that much more impactful for him. It's just, I really adore season 2. In fact, I actually started rewatching season 1 last night to fall asleep to.
Yeah, I mean, I know that CD Projekt Red just announced that they're working on another Witcher game. So
Yeah. They announced that a few months back, and of course, it's going to be completely. Pretty sure it's going to focus on a new Witcher entirely.
oh, not Geralt? Okay.
I mean, honestly, after playing the third one, I don't think there's anything left of Geralt's story to tell in video game form.
Okay. I never finished 3 by any stretch of the imagination. I played it for a bit, but I never got too into it. So, but yeah, it is what it is. Well, there you go, everybody. 10 shows and movies that I can't believe our lists are that fucking different. That's I guess Sandman's the only one, so 9 total.
Yeah, Sandman was the only one that we had to like.
Yeah,
because we both had Sandman, and you had what, 3 movies, and what was your other show?
Legend of Vox Machina. So mine
That's
was
right.
mine was Hard Life, Fall Prey, Legend of Vox Machina, Don't Look Up. Those are my top 4.
And mine was Sandman, Midnight Mass, The Boys Season 3, Stranger Things Season 4, and The Witcher Season 2. I think that's the most widely varying our list has ever been for a year-end list.
What's funny is that everything that you had was in my final grouping, and I just had to start eliminating them because I was like, I started thinking from the one perspective.
Yeah,
do I have time to watch this again? So that's funny. Now that we're done with the reminiscing and the top five list, let's get into our reviews. First off is going to be Rings of Power episode 6 on Amazon Prime. You
Yeah,
got that?
yeah.
Got that synopsis for me?
I do. And sorry, video watchers, I turned my camera off momentarily because, well, I don't need you seeing down my boobies when I'm leaning forward to the screen looking, reading the synopsis. Um, so yeah, there's that. DM me later. We'll talk. No. So this episode was titled Udun. Synopsis is Adar and the Orc army find the watchtower base abandoned. While they search the grounds, Arondir destroys the tower, causing it to collapse onto the Orc army. The townspeople who move down into the valley to another village cheer as they prepare for their next assault. Arondir hides the broken blade, professes his love to Bronwyn, and promises a life together after the battle. The battle begins, and while the villagers appear victorious, many of the enemy they killed were actually the traitorous townspeople disguised as orcs. The rest of the Orc army attacks from the shadows, killing many and severely wounding Bronwyn. As more villagers die, Theo reveals the location of the broken blade to Adar to save Bronwyn. After journeying across the sea, the Numenarian army approaches to slay or capture the remaining orcs. Adar gives Waldrick a task before attempting to escape, only to be captured by Galadriel and Halbrand. They interrogate him, discovering his origins as one of the uh, Moriandor, or Uruks, elves corrupted by Morgoth. He taunts them, feigning memory of killing Halbrand's Southlander family and claiming to have killed Sauron. As Halbrand is hailed as the king of the Southlands, Theo realizes the broken blade they recovered was a decoy, while the true blade had been carried back to the watchtower by Waldrick. He plants it into a mechanism, causing a nearby dam to open. Water rushes through the orc tunnels towards Arodruin, 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 yeah, and clashes with magma, resulting in uh, phrenomagmatic eruption and a pyroclastic cloud that approaches the village. It's essentially the creation of Mount fucking Doom.
Yep.
And this episode was awesome.
Yeah, it was like if any of the past episodes were like a little boring and you're like, man, I wish the show would get a little bit quicker, a little bit better. Like, there you go. Here you fucking go. Everything about this episode was outstanding.
Yeah. There wasn't a dull minute, a dull moment at all.
No, it's I hate that the episode ended with that pyroclastic flow. Like, we don't know who's going to survive. We don't know what's going to happen next with anybody. And like, I know that's the intention. But we got to wait. We got to wait till like, we're recording this the day before the new episode comes out, and it's killing me.
Yep. You can watch it first thing in the morning, though.
I can't.
I
Watch it
can.
first thing in the morning.
I can.
I got to wait till after work.
I'm sorry.
You should be. No,
It's
this
my
episode,
fault.
like, one of the best parts of the episode was like the ebb and flow of win loss win loss win loss. Because they had an amazing fucking like beginning with the tower getting destroyed and killing like a lot of the orcs, and that orc army didn't even know what was happening, and then they were like, but we have the upper hand down in this village, and they did. I did laugh really hard at the one dude that was over by the cart and just gets his fucking throat cut out because he's standing too close.
Yeah.
Shit actually made me laugh. I was like, well, move. What are you doing? But and then after that they like recognize that they're fighting their own. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So it was not a dull moment in this episode.
No, not at all. And just when it ended with the volcanic eruption and the shockwave and the magma, flowing towards the villagers. And it goes to the black screen and the credits. And I was like, motherfucker,
Yeah.
I wanted more. Damn it.
Oh, it was awesome. It was so fucking awesome.
I also like the dynamic between Galadriel and Halbrand and how they each had to stop the other from killing Adar.
Yep. I like the line. What is it? How does it go? It's she says it to him before he kills Adar, or tries to kill Adar.
And then he repeats it back to her when she's about to kill him.
Well, he said it. He said it to her originally. That's why she said it to him, like in an earlier episode.
I don't remember what the line was, but I remember the callback. Yes,
it's a sailor line. Fuck me. It was good. It was really fucking well structured. And then
sailor knows when to flee the storm or flee before the storm or something like that.
No, was it that?
No,
because it had to do with revenge.
I can't remember.
God, it was just good. It doesn't matter. It was
a damn good line.
Yeah, it was a really good line. And then there's and that's the thing about this episode, though. This episode is so good because we had so much build up to it in the last 5 episodes. And we only have 2 more episodes of the show? There's only 8 total, right? Yeah.
Yep. 8 total. There's 2 more episodes.
Yeah, which is funny because next week we have the finale of She-Hulk, and then the following episode in the finale of Rings of Power, and then I believe the following episode will have the finale of House of the Dragon.
Yeah, we got 3 more weeks of House of the Dragon, 2 more weeks of 1 more week of She-Hulk, 2 more weeks of the Rings of Power, and 3 more weeks of House of the Dragon.
Yeah,
and 8 more weeks, or 7 more weeks of Andor.
7, yeah. Yep. We'll figure out. We're going to figure out what we're doing with the empty space after these 3 shows are over. But let's go ahead and give our final thoughts on Rings of Power. You go first.
This episode gets an A fucking plus. The action was on point. The twist that the village people didn't see coming, and then they start getting slaughtered after they thought they had the upper hand on the orcs. I mean, the is well structured, well done, beautifully shot. Of course, I thought that the Numenorians riding in at the last minute to make that save was a little on the nose,
but
it did not detract at all from the episode. It was wonderfully well done.
I mirror your grade 100%, and most of your sentiment. I will argue this about the Numenorians coming in like they did. My only disagreement with you in regards to that is they wanted you to have a false sense of security because the Numenorians had come in. They wanted the audience to be like, oh, they're saved. That's good. Because they had something even worse around the corner. And none of us were expecting it. If you watching the show go, yeah, I saw that coming, I'll say liar. Absolute liar. There's no way you saw that coming. They showed you absolutely fucking nothing in regards to that making sense until the boy had opened up the fucking cloth and saw an axe. And then you went, oh, fuck. And your brain went, oh, all of that makes sense. All of that tracks how that worked out. We just didn't see it on screen. Brilliant. Absolutely fucking brilliant. Just well structured. Like you're not wrong. You're 100% correct in that it was 100% on the nose. But I think that was entirely intentional, which is really smart filmmaking. But yeah, A+. It's such a good episode. I cannot wait for tomorrow. It's going to be great. I need to know who lives and who dies. We know that Galadriel lives and what's his ass lives, because they have history later.
Isildur.
Does Isildur live too?
He has to.
I was thinking the one that tries to throw the ring into Mount Doom but fails, and
That's Isildur.
no.
Isildur was the one who cut the ring from Sauron's hand and was supposed to cast it into Mount Doom with
Why am I thinking of a
Elrond.
different name then?
I don't know.
Huh? That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's the guy that I'm thinking of. He has to live because he has history later. But I'll argue this: like, that was my biggest complaint about the Obi-Wan show, is that they had too many characters who we knew don't die, or don't, like their history. They have history later. We know what happens to them. And with this prequel show, we know who lives, and it's 2 characters. But we have a lot of other important characters, so any of them could die at any fucking moment, and it's great.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to House of the Dragon, our other fantasy-based show.
One more thing. I was watching a video. There's somebody who has a theory about the Meteor Man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's pretty clear that he is Mayar, which is what the wizards are.
Right.
It's also what Balrogs are. They think that he might be a Balrog.
I feel like that's not what they're leading to.
But it would be a great twist if they were.
That's wow, man, that would be a weird twist. I don't know that I like that.
I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Just throwing it out there.
Oh, I know.
Just let us know in the comments what you guys think, if you have any theories about who the Meteor Man is.
I'd like to know who that group is that's trying to find him is.
Yeah, them too.
Because we didn't get any of that this episode.
Mm-mm.
Like, we stuck with the humans and the Numenorians the whole episode in that one location. So, which is apparently right fucking next to where Mount Doom is.
Yep. We're seeing the creation of Mordor unfold before us.
That's awesome. So cool. And again, I want to make it clear to people watching the show. Do not come at us with, well, in the books. Doesn't matter. This is a sequel to the movies, or a prequel to the movies, not the fucking books. Yes, were the movies based off the books? Sure. But much like Watchmen, which that show was a prequel or a sequel to the comic, not the movie.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind watching this show. But let's go ahead and move on to House of the Dragon.
Yeah, this episode was titled Driftmark. It opens up with a funeral. We see King Viserys and his court attend Lady Lena's funeral in Driftmark. Rhaenyra and Daemon reunite and are physically intimate. They fuck. Like she wanted to when she was 15.
Hey, everybody. We finally got our incest. It's Game of Thrones, baby.
Yep. Prince Aemon claims Vhagar as his dragon, leading to an altercation with his cousins and nephews in which Lucerys slashes Aemon's eye with a knife. Viserys denies Queen Alicent's demand that Lucerys' eye be gouged out as retribution. When Alicent attempts to attack Lucerys, Rhaenyra blocks her, and Alicent stabs Rhaenyra's arm in a struggle with Viserys' Valyrian steel dagger. After claims that Rhaenyra's children are bastards, Viserys decrees that anyone questioning their legitimacy will be silenced. Reinstated as Hand of the King, Otto Hightower tells Alicent they will soon prevail. Rhaenyra and Daemon unite against Alicent and her supporters. Sir Carl Corey appears to murder Laenor with Princess Rhaenyra, or with Princess Rhaenys, and Lord Corlys believing that the found charred body is their son's. Meanwhile, Daemon and Rhaenyra are privately married in the old Valyrian tradition to continue the pure Targaryen bloodline, and following his fake death, Laenor, with his head shaved, secretly flees Driftmark with Sir Carl. So, yeah,
This episode was awesome. Like,
this episode was awesome too, yes.
it was like, I think my dad said it best when we finished the episode. He just goes, man, a lot happened this episode. It's like, it sure as fuck did.
And that's the thing. There's a lot that's happened in every episode, but it just seems like a whole hell of a lot happened this time.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about this episode that is important to keep in mind when it comes to uh, like where we are in the show. Um, tensions are building and building and
Oh,
building.
yes, they are.
And so the later that we get into this series, it seems like it's going to get worse and worse and worse and better for us. Like, I want to make it clear. If you've never watched Game of Thrones and you're thinking to get into House of the Dragon, go ahead. It's totally fine. You don't have to know jack shit about Game of Thrones to know or to watch the show. I do want to warn you, though. Don't get attached to anybody because anybody could be up on the chopping block at any point.
Speaking of chopping blocks, I swear Viserys looks more and more like he's seen a chopping block every episode.
Yeah, they're making.
He's looking like Deadpool's anus in this episode.
It's pretty rough right now for him.
But one thing I did want to bring up is when they're having Lena's funeral at the beginning of the episode, and her uncle is delivering the eulogy. That was some cold-blooded shit he was saying that was directed at Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was rough. Fucking rough.
But yeah, this episode was fantastic. It was just, I love the fact that, you think Aegon, the oldest son of Viserys and Alicent, you think that he's the one with a real attitude problem, but Aemon's just coming out of nowhere being a fucking little punk ass.
Yeah.
Going and, claiming the dragon and then losing his eye. And he's like, you know what? The trade was worth it. I've got a dragon now.
You know what's funny about him being a little punk ass is that, like, was he a punk ass before his cousins were fucking with him in the pig situation, or was that after? Like, was he always like, or no, I'm sorry, did he gain that kind of attitude because of them?
I don't know. Don't know. It's hard to say.
But yeah, I can't wait to, like, I know that next week we're gonna have another funeral because start this episode on a funeral again. 2 burnt bodies, for being specific. Yeah, I don't know, like, because here's the thing about Game of Thrones. We know that in the show, because let's go by the same attitude that this show is a prequel to the other show and not the books. Like, yes, is it based off of j.r.r. Martin's, like, House of the Dragon series? Yes. Partially. But, does it feel more like a prequel to the show? Yes. So let's go off of that idea. And I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, we know that the Targaryens don't lose their royalty position until the Mad King, right? Yeah. They stay in power. And I think that's what interests me the show so much is that in Game of Thrones, we were watching people fight for the Iron Throne. That's not as much the case this show. Like, people are power grabbing for sure, but in such a unique and different way than Game of Thrones. That I'm super fucking compelled to see what happens next. And I'm also really happy the show is coming to its own. That you don't have to know Game of Thrones to watch it.
Scale of holy shit, she's really losing her grip. The turnaround in Alicent's character from the first episode to now, it's like she goes from a very likable character to someone you strongly dislike.
This is kind of what I was saying.
And that's par for the course in the show. Their characters in the original series that you absolutely started out loving end up hating, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Or, they take you on a roller coaster of like and dislike. Start out disliking, then you really like them, then you dislike them for choices they make, then you like them again because they redeem themselves, and then they ultimately shit the fucking bed because what the fuck, Jamie Lannister? How do you do that?
But that's, I think that's what makes Game of Thrones, both this and House of the Dragon, both the original House of the Dragon, so entertaining, was that every single character turned into that archetype of, I can see myself doing, making that choice. I could see myself making that dumb error, and you're seeing a lot of that with this show, and I think that's what makes it so fucking much fun. Like, we know that Rhaenyra and Damon are trying to. They want the Iron Throne, right? They want to seize that after Rhaenyra's dad dies,
Which can't be much longer.
Like you said, it looks like fucking Deadpool's butthole.
Yeah. Maybe a little slimier.
Ew. I don't know, man. Like, I'm really impressed with this show. Like, I know that you and I went into it with this attitude of like, it's hard to entirely trust Game of Thrones, but we're going to give it a shot because we know that it's not the same showrunners, it's not the same writers. And I'm in it. I'm loving it. So,
yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was going to ask, do you want to give it a grade? Do you want me to, or?
I'll go first. I'll just this episode gets an A+. Like, it's so much, like, it makes me like, if a show that has a lot of talking and like there's two characters and I know who they are and I don't have to look at the screen, I can look at my phone, I'll do that. This show barely like makes me do that. Like 98% of the show, I'm fucking in. So, like, well done. Keep my attention enough for me to not kind of like, I wonder what's on Twitter for like a second.
Yeah. Oh,
Plus,
absolutely. Go ahead.
I want to commend them on the CGI for the dragons. Like, looks fucking stellar.
Yeah, the wyverns look great this time.
Okay, you can say wyvern, but
I know. I was just
the main dragon that was in this episode is definitely a dragon.
Well, anyway,
how is it not? Hold on, how is it not a dragon?
No, that's the thing. In mythology, especially European mythology, dragons and wyverns were confused a lot. A wyvern has two hind legs, and their forelegs are connected to their wings, but they also have a barbed tail that's poisonous. Dragons' wings are separate. Come here, you bastard.
Yeah, this
Dragons' wings are separate from their legs. The wings, the wings aren't connected to the forelegs in a traditional dragon. They have essentially another set of arms that are their wings, as you can see.
Okay, I got what you're saying. Well,
yeah, but European mythology is hit and miss on that, and there's no definitive. But I say dragons have four legs and a pair of wings. Versus,
well, you know what it looks like to me that they got their inspiration from for this particular dragon's like wings and flight the way he flies and whatnot. A bat.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
But anyway, your review.
Oh, it's an A+, absolutely. From the opening eulogy with the cold-blooded shit that Laenor's uncle was dropping onto Rhaenyra and her kids, to the icky incest moment, to the secret wedding of Daemon and Rhaenyra, to just the dragon scenes themselves were really cool. The fight between the kids and then just Lucerys just saying, you know what? Fuck your eye, Aemond. Fuck your eye. It was just a fun fucking wow, holy shit, that just happened episode. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm looking forward to Sunday night's episode.
Yeah, same here. All right, well let's hop on over to Andor episode 5.
Yeah, this one is titled "The Axe Forgets" on Aldhani. Cassian as Clem hides his past from his fellow rebels, distrust from most of them, particularly Arvel's scheme. Taram and Barcona trains Cassian and the other rebels for the planned heist. While traveling to the Aldhani Imperial garrison, Cassian reveals that he is a mercenary. He is getting paid for the job, and that's why he's there. Team leader Vale decides to continue with the mission and hold off dealing with Clem's past until they've achieved their objectives. Meanwhile, the Imperial officer and Rebel double agent, what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Imperial officer and Rebel double agent Lieutenant Gorn covertly aids Vale's team from the garrison. On Coruscant, Adi Karn emasculates her son Cyril as he explores new career prospects. Mon Mothma also establishes a new charitable foundation while managing increasingly tense relations with her husband and daughter. Elsewhere, ISB Supervisor Blevin acquires a hotel as the new ISB headquarters on Ferrix. Meanwhile, his rival Miro and her assistant Hirt reach the conclusion that the rebels are conducting a series of coordinated heists of Imperial weapons and technology. Rael anxiously waits for a transmission from Cassian's rebel team. Rael, that's Stellan Skarsgård's character. It's his first name. But yeah, a lot of stuff happening in this episode for a 35-minute episode.
Yeah, it was a lot shorter. I was not expecting that. Like, I think my dad and I started at I want to say 4 p.m. And my mom comes down at 4:30. She's like, "What are you guys watching?" I said, "The new Star Wars show, Andor." And she was like, "Oh, okay," because she doesn't like Star Wars. And I said it would be over in 15, 20 minutes. It was over in 5. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But no, this episode was mostly set up.
It's absolutely set up. This episode this show is a slow fucking burn. It's like, those long fucking matches that you use to light fireplaces with and shit. You know what I'm talking about? You seen them? They're like foot-long matches.
Oh, yeah.
Struck it, and it's going to take a while for that motherfucker to burn down.
Yeah. My analogy would have been a long-wicked firework, but we can use that one too. I used long-wicked firework because, you're like, oh, I want to watch this firework. It's going to be amazing when it finally goes off, but you have to wait a solid 30 seconds for the fucking wick to go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode is going to be fucking worth it. I'm not saying this episode was bad. It was
a really good episode.
Yeah, it's great, but next episode is going to be fucking wild. And we all know that Cyril is because I was thinking back to Rogue One, right? And because I'm pretty fucking sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a one season, one and done situation.
More than likely.
Because if you think about the Rogue One, when they meet Andor for the first time, he's already wanted. The fucking Empire knows who he is. At least that's what I remember him saying, but yeah, this episode was tense. I'm worried for we know, because here's the thing. There's two characters this entire show that we know the fate of. That's Andor and Mon Mothma.
Exactly.
So everybody else,
no idea.
And I'm fucking this troop that fucking Andor is a part of. Fucking love. It's like this weird ragtag group of guys and I like characters. I love it so much. And then Cyril, I'm glad that we're sticking with him. And I know what he's going to do. he's gonna eventually figure out a way to give the Empire that thing of Cassian Andor in some way. So oh man, show's incredible.
So I would give this episode a solid A. It's tense. It's building up. You can feel the build up, just like in anticipation of what's going to happen, that payoff to come. It's like, oh my goodness, because the heist has to go down in the next episode. It just has to. the way it's built up now, and I'm expecting something exciting. Like that little kid in The Incredibles. What are you waiting for? I don't know. Something amazing.
Yeah, I mirror you. It's not an A+ episode, but it's definitely an A because it doesn't do anything spectacular. It's a lot of setup for next week, and it's also shorter than every other episode, which is unexpected. I kind of expected the heist to start this episode, but no, it's just the preparation for it. So, this show has been a fucking great thing. I have no fucking clue what's gonna happen next, and I love that about a show. I can speculate all I want, but I genuinely don't know, and I love that. So, if you haven't started watching Cassian Andor because of whatever reason, don't skip out on it. It is a slow burn, but it's a good slow burn. Just satisfying
like
slow burn. All right.
Oh no, not your mom. Their mom.
Oh, their mom.
Yeah, their mom.
That's less insulting to me specifically.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about She-Hulk episode 8, the penultimate episode.
Ribbit and Rip It. That was the episode title, by the way, and also the catchphrase of Leapfrog. Ribbit and Rip It.
Which it's kind of interesting they named him Leapfrog and not Frogman, but
yeah, because in the comics he's known as Frogman.
Right.
But Jen takes on a new case representing Eugene Patilio, aka Leapfrog, who wishes to sue Luke Jacobson for having provided him a faulty supersuit. Jacobson is represented by Matt Murdock in court and manages to win the case due to Patilio inadvertently revealing that he disobeyed Jacobson's instructions for using the suit, using jet fuel in the boosters. Afterwards, Patilio contacts Jen asking for help against an unknown assailant. Jen arrives and battles the assailant, who she discovers to be Matt Murdock as his superhero persona Daredevil. Matt reveals to Jen that Patilio kidnapped Jacobson, and the two work together to rescue the latter. Jen later sleeps with Murdock at her home. The next day, Jen attends the Southern California Law Awards Gala, where she accepts the Female Lawyer of the Year award, but the gala is interrupted by an intelligentsia broadcast which smears Jen's reputation by displaying footage of her in bed with Josh Miller. Jen goes into a rage and destroys the gala stage, then attempts to capture an intelligentsia member nearby, but she is stopped by the Department of Damage Control agents.
Yep.
And that's where the episode ended up. And holy shit, this was a fun episode.
Oh, so fucking fun. I've said this 100 times. One of my favorite, I have read quite a few comics where it is She-Hulk versus Matt Murdock in a courtroom. And I love those issues that I've read. So the fact that we got that even a little bit in this episode is fucking a dream come true. And then later when they're fucking fighting each other a little bit / teaming up, Matt knows he can't hurt her. He knows this.
Yeah.
So he just fucking avoids her and tries to run away. It's not totally successful, but it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the way she stops him though was great. She's like, "How can you move like that? I thought you were blind." He's like, "I am blind." "How can you move like that?" "Well, I used to be able to hear pretty good."
A lot of other, not a lot. There's a few people online that are pissed off because they made Matt funny, and I'm like, you weren't paying attention to the fucking Netflix show or the fucking comics, so that's on you, bud.
Every superhero drops one-liners.
I
It's
would
a
argue
thing.
not every superhero.
Well, most every superhero drops
Matt fucking
one-liners.
sure's did.
Yeah.
Whether like in costume or not. Like the other thing about Matt that you have to keep in mind is the character's a fucking man whore.
Mm-hmm.
Like Matt fucks a lot. Matt has fucked She-Hulk in comic.
Yep.
This isn't new territory. I promise y'all.
Nope.
Like, I don't know how to tell people this. This was the most accurate comic book Matt Murdock we have ever seen in live action.
Yeah, it was great. And the walk of shame carrying his boots.
So
The
funny.
walk of shame carrying his boots was so great.
Oh, I like waiting this long for Matt to show up was very, very satisfying. I hate that I have to share this like delight with fucking incels, but here we are.
Yeah, you know. Incel's gonna incel.
It's just it's so much fun. It was just a fun episode. Like Matt being actually like having proper agility like he does in the comics was so awesome. Like I love the Netflix show, but it's not that accurate to the comics. It's really not.
No, it isn't. And the you know, you didn't see him leaping around like he did in this.
No, you don't.
Like just falling backwards off of a parking garage and then using the levels of the parking garage to catch himself and propel himself into, you know, new levels is just really well done.
Super
and
cool.
I love the use of the yellow in with the suit. It still has the feel of the Netflix suit.
Yes.
With some changes to it, obviously. But the little bits of yellow and red, like the classic original Daredevil costume, is a nice nod.
What was also great about that was that when she's like, "Are you a superhero or something?" He was like, "I'm Daredevil," and that you could hear the background, the theme, just a little bit of the theme from the show, but then it cuts abruptly when she's like, "Oh yeah, you'd have to be a Daredevil to wear mustard and ketchup colors."
Yeah,
I was like, "Yes, you're so good." And then their banter on the fucking roof before taking out those guys, and like it was great because we got another hallway sequence, right?
Yes.
And I was like, this is dope. And then fucking Jen comes through the roof and she's like, She-Hulk smash, and I'm like, more of this, please. It's so fucking fun.
The show's wonderful, and this was, you know, this is the most fun episode yet.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it from start to finish, and you know, I loved seeing Matt as Matt, and I loved seeing Matt as Daredevil, and you know, the ridiculous leapfrog character. God, it's like my henchmen are going to be called my tadpoles. Just
henchgoons. Get it right.
Yeah, henchgoons. That whole banter, you know, what's it? The same thing, henchman and goon. No. Goons do it for money. Henchmen is because they believe or whatever. Or was it the other way around? But yeah.
Henchmen are paid, goons believe, I think is what it was.
Okay. But yeah. Love this episode. We've been running long, so what grade would you give it?
I'm gonna give it an A+. I would watch it again. It's highly entertaining. Everything about it was exactly how I remember the comics being. And I love the breaking the fourth wall, asking the audience, like, what are you still doing here? Like, this episode's over. And then it's not, but it's a surprise to Jen, not us. That was super fucking fun. And
yeah, I like how she said, trust me, it was a satisfying conclusion to the episode.
Oh yeah, that's another thing about the show is that they're definitely gearing it towards a more adult audience with a sense of humor because they know that they have to. They know that
Yeah.
that's where the character comes from. So, um, yeah, I'm like totally fucking pleased with it, and argue would watch this episode again. What's your grade?
Oh, it's also an A plus. I'm going to watch it again because I loved it that much. I watched it at 5 o'clock this morning when I woke up. It was the first thing I did. I was like, "Oh, She-Hulk," and yeah, the whole show's been fantastic, and there has been a slower episode here, slower episode there, but they've all been entertaining. They've all been good, and the fact that this show uh, takes real world shit, the fanboy hate, and works it in as a plot of the show, which they continue to do this week. I love it. I love it.
Somebody somebody asked me a while back, like, do you think that they went back and wrote that after they saw the reaction of She-Hulk getting their own show, or do you think that was like the main writer was a writer for Rick and Morty? She knows how the internet fucking thinks and functions. This was pre-planned. This was written
Yeah.
into the script beforehand.
Yep. But yeah, wonderful episode. Another solid week of entertainment here for us.
Absolutely, 100%. And happy anniversary, Mike.
Happy anniversary to you. I didn't get you shit, but
it's all right.
I'm
I didn't
sorry.
get you anything either.
No, that's okay. But yeah,
but yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for us. That's gonna do it for this long ass episode. If you made it this far, congratulations. We don't have anything for you, but just know that we appreciate it.
we got love for them. Nothing but.
Next week is more of the same. We got Rings of Power episode 7, which I believe is the penultimate episode. Rings House of the Dragon episode 8, Andor episode 6, and the finale to She-Hulk. So those 6, and then or those 5 and 4. Jeez, I can't count. And then the week following that will be 3. But yeah, make sure you follow us all the socials listed down below. That's where we'll update you if anything changes on the show, if we add anything. Yeah, that's it on that. Check out our Teespring store. If you want some merch for the upcoming fall and winter seasons, that's where you'd get gear with our logo and our faces on it. And if you are looking to buy something, we still have that code available. What's that code again, Maya?
AQU15. All queued up 15.
All queued up.
Gives you AQU15 gives you 15% off your entire purchase, which essentially, if you order enough stuff, it's going to mean free shipping and a little bit more off the top.
Yep. That link is also down below for our store.
Mm-hmm.
Head on over to our YouTube channel. That's where you'll be able to watch today's episode of the podcast in its live recording form, where you can see Maya there for the first time in a hot minute.
It's been a couple months, but hey, worth it. I mean, come on, I'm a snack.
Also, we streamed yesterday as of recording this. Our Jackbox stream. It went actually really well. I'm gonna try to download it and upload it to the YouTube channel. So that way, but it's gonna be like the highlighted, the funnier bits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just gonna take me some time, so I don't know when I'll have that up. But our social medias will let you know. Go follow those. But yeah, we're also gonna stream again next Wednesday on October 12th. We'll be doing more Jackbox. And on October 20th, we'll be streaming the new party pack. So we'll have our regular Wednesday stream, and then we'll do Thursday when the pack comes out. So, yeah, come by and hang out. It's going to be fun. I promise you that. That's on twitch.tv/ChubRockGeek, which is my personal channel. We tried to create our own Twitch, but it didn't quite work out.
Greg had more of a following already built up, and it's easier to use that installed following than it is to try to start from the ground up.
Yep. So, that's it for my notes. Maya, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Maya Dawn Fisher. It's a public profile. It's also linked to my Instagram and Twitter accounts, so it's your one-stop shop for everything that I'm up to, and that's it. Where can people find you, Greg?
Chub Rock Geek on all socials. And like I said, I'm going to be editing our stream clips onto the YouTube channel, so go check that out. I'm going to keep promoting the fuck out of that. That is it for me at the moment. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Remember, we got 4 shows coming up. We still got, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, Andor, and then the finale She-Hulk next week. So, and always remember, fuck the GOP, fuck the NRA. Donate and help where you can. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.